Sonic the Hedgehog, with his extraordinary speed and quality of graphics, catapulted him into a gaming icon. The Sonic franchise is vast, with over 70 million games sold worldwide, bringing a huge number of games to its loyal fanbase and introducing a variety of characters, including Miles Tails Prower, Knuckles, Dr. Eggman, Amy Rose, and many more. And the franchise is set to grow even more as this year sees Sonic return with his latest video game installment, Sonic Generations. In the late 1980s, Nintendo was the leader in both hardware and game sales, thanks largely to their Super Mario games and their NES games platform.
I'd had conversations with Mr. Nakayama, the CEO of the company, about what needed to be done for Sega to compete in the United States marketplace. Nintendo completely dominated the industry. They had a share of market that was above 90%. Third-party game developers were all beholden to Nintendo. I mean, they owed Nintendo their livelihood. So it was very difficult to break into the marketplace back in that time period.
Sega, despite recently launching the more powerful Genesis, still needed a stunning new game to really show what the system could do and attempt to readdress the balance. They made the decision that before this game, they would need a new mascot other than the current Alex Kidd, so a new character had to be developed.
For some time, the management of Sega was aware that to compete with Nintendo, one of the things that would be necessary was their own strong character to compete with Mario.
Sega really wanted to create its Sega's Mickey Mouse, Sega's Mario.
The view at that time was you needed a mascot, typically a platformer, that brought to life what the, if you will, the irreverence of your brand.
So the company started to ask all employees to come up with ideas.
One person who heard this rallying call was Naoto Oshima.
純粋にゲームの企画を最初作ったんですけど、なかなかこう上司とうまくこう理解してもらえなくて、でそこに中さんがちょうどプロジェクトが終わって、で中さんに相談して、なんか一緒にゲーム作ってもらえませんかってお願いしたところ、快く中さんがじゃあ一緒にやろうよって中さんといろいろ相談しながら生まれたのがソニックになります。
With Oshima developing potential character ideas, Yuji Naka, a young, talented Sega programmer who had already worked on several games, was tasked with not only programming the game that would feature this new character, but devising a game that could demonstrate the true power of the Genesis.
そうですね、僕自身が速いものが好きだったっていうのもあるんですけれども、やはりゲームが上手くなったら早くクリアをしていくところができる方がいいんじゃないかっていうのが、その当時のゲームはですね、バックアップとかがなくてですね、セーブができないので、毎回ゲームを始めると一番最初から始めるんですね。今のゲームだと途中から始めることができるんですけど、昔は必ず一番最初からこう始まっていったので、そうすると一番最初のステージっていうのはもう何度もやってくるんです。そうすると上手くなってくると、このステージはもっともっと早くクリアできた方が嬉しいんじゃないかっていうのが発想の一番大きな元になって、そのためにソニックは速くなっていったんですね。なのでそれで速いスピードの中でこうクリアしていくっていう、そこがマリオとかと大きな違いになるんじゃないかと思って作り上げました。
Meanwhile, in response to Sega's call for ideas and concepts for a new character and game, a board meeting was arranged. Naoto Oshima, Yuji Naka, along with all the other competing teams, had to separately present their ideas in the knowledge that only one team's proposal would be chosen.
でその社内プレゼンの時にうちのチームだけが、ゲームもあってぬいぐるみもあっていろんなこうグッズをプレゼンでこう発表したんですね。で、そういうこともあって会社がバックアップしてこの ゲームをちゃんとなんか力を入れて作ろうということで、その当時の中ではすごい期間も通常よりも長くもらえていいゲームを作れということで作れたというのがスタートになると思います。
やはりソニックでの大きな違いっていうと今までそれまではマリオとかもそうなんですがブロック単位でゲームのマップが構成されているところをですね滑らかなこういう風な形をすごく高速で駆け抜けるっていうところが大きなチャレンジだと思います。でここは滑らかに動けるっていうところがある程度目処がついたので滑らかにできるなら回れるんじゃないかということを思ってですね僕自身がでそこでこういうループみたいなところのプログラムを作り上げてきて、ですけどこれを作ったはいいんですけどもものすごいここ高速でいくとですねループ回らずに突っ込んでいったりとかですねすごくここをきれいに回すのに苦労した覚えはあります。
ソニックというキャラクターの絵をいろんな方に見てもらうとソニックはすごく子供のキャラクターでなんかすごく可愛いキャラクターだというふうに思われたので、でも私が思ってたソニックはもっと大人をイメージしてたの。
With the Sonic the Hedgehog character reaching the final design stage, Sega of Japan felt they had the new mascot and game they were hoping for. The character and concept art was sent to Sega of America, who felt that Sonic needed some adjustments to make him more suitable for the Western market.
I was asked to redesign Sonic from his backstory to his character so that he could actually work in terms of advertising and merchandising, the comic book series, and on TV.
The Sonic team in Japan really hated Sega of America's redesign of Sonic.
In the meeting, they absolutely did not come around. I mean, they created a beautiful character, and they didn't feel that we had any right to change that character, which is quite understandable. But we were on a mission, and we were going to make Sonic happen in all the right ways possible. We really believed in the redesign of the character, and he needed to be the face of Sega worldwide. After the meeting, however, they really assessed the strength of the game, the strength of the platform, and they determined that the Sega Genesis and Sonic was actually going to be more successful in America and in Europe versus in Japan. And so because of that, they decided that we needed to make the calls required to make this character successful.
Sega of America marketing made it a little, in a way, edgier and in a way a little more comical, humorous, and softened it.
With the character and game design really taking shape for North American audiences, along with the original Sonic team design for the rest of the world, Sega felt the project needed an equally impressive soundtrack. To achieve this, they brought in composer and co-founding member of Japanese pop sensation Dreams Come True, Masato Nakamura.
I didn't treat Sonic as a game, but a film, because a graphic is great and it has a very strong story. So I thought, this is a movie, film. So I wanted to create a movie music or film music.
However, with the game still very much in early development, only static screenshots were available for Nakamura to use for his inspiration.
So Sonic staff explained to me, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this. And I started, writing songs, but I will never know because that was a totally new for me. So it was really tough job for me. So just because, I wanted to treat Sonic the Hedgehog as a film, my inspiration comes from each graphic, each stages. So if I can see a red color, so my music's gonna be like a volcano stuff. Or if I can see Iceland, I wanted to create a kind of icy music. So my inspiration came from visual or graphic. at the same time, the Mega Drive system, the sound system is very limited. Maybe we could use 4 sound or at the same time. So it was really, really tricky, But that limitation, inspired me a lot.
With the test versions of the game looking good, Sega were growing in confidence that Sonic the Hedgehog would be the game that could really give the Genesis the boost it needed by showing off the truly cutting-edge hardware the console had for the time.
確かにメガドライブ自体はですね、そんなに、その当時でいくと、性能は高い方だったかと思うんですけれども、ソニックみたいなゲームを作るのにそこまで適しているハードではなかったので、かなりプログラミング的にはその高速化、いかにしてそのスピードを上げていくかっていうプログラムはかなり詰めて作っていった記憶があります。
I was at Sega Japan and visiting one of their R&D labs when I saw a very, very early version of Sonic. Graphics were half done, just part of the first Green Hill Zone. And it looked interesting from a different distance because it was so bright. But once I got up closer to it, they started going and moving Sonic around, having him roll up into a ball and then start moving. And it was like I had never seen speed like that.
作ってる時は本当に限界までやろうって言って割と早くしていたりした瞬間があるので、その時は確かに気持ち悪くなったりはしましたね。なのでそういった意味ではスタートする瞬間だったりとか、その後の流れてるところとかの調整みたいなのはその当時やった覚えがありますが、それでも最終的にはですね、プログラム、その当時のソニック1の時はソニック1の僕が作ったプログラムの限界まで実はスピードは最終的にも出してしまったんですね。なのでどちらかというと慣れてしまったのかもしれないですね。当初は確かに大丈夫かなと思った瞬間はあるんですけれども。
About 2 months later, I went back to Sega Japan and got to see another version of it. The first level was mostly complete, and I was able to go and play it for myself. Then I knew we had something special.
With the game nearing completion, how would Sega position the release to set it apart from anything else ever seen before? How did Sonic quite literally take the world by storm?
So the Consumer Electronics Show was approaching, where not only was Sonic going to be unveiled, but also Super NES was going to be unveiled. Now, as a marketer, we knew that we had something great in Sonic. We didn't have one thing that Nintendo did, and that was a lot of money. For every dollar that we had in marketing, Nintendo had $10 or more in marketing dollars. So we had to go and be smart, we had to be bold, we had to go and figure out different ways to go and do it. So we kept Sonic a secret until CES. CES opened, and before the show opened, Nintendo had their big press conference, introducing Super NES, saying why it was the greatest system in the world, it was the only system to go and think about. They had this great software lineup, including the new Super Mario World. After their press conference was over, the doors to CES opened, and about 2 minutes after that, a reporter from a major national magazine came up to me and said, Super Nintendo has 32,768 colors. You've only got 512. What are you going to do about it? So silently, I just motioned for him to follow me and walked over to a place in our booth where we had 2 large TV monitors. One had Sonic the Hedgehog, and one had the new 16-bit Super Mario. And I said, which one has more colors? I said, it's not how many colors you have, it's what you do with them. Immediately he saw the difference, and that's how CES started for us.
What really started to convince us that we had something great was when we actually focus tested Sonic with, kids to adults, and the reaction towards Sonic versus Mario in that focus test was just incredible. That's when we decided, that's when we knew we had a hit on our hands. Because when you looked at all the people playing Sonic the Hedgehog, they were, it's young kids as young as 3 to as old as 50 or 60, playing and loving the character.
To build a buzz about the upcoming Sonic, Sega had an idea for a more direct but high-risk marketing strategy.
I believed in being very aggressive in marketing. I believed in taking Nintendo on head on.
So one of the challenges that we had when marketing Sonic is we wanted to go directly up against Mario, and we wanted to do that in TV.
We created very competitive TV ad comparing Nintendo game and Sega game side by side with price tag attached to it.
And we knew that the minute we would televise a commercial against Mario, that Nintendo would require that we pull the TV spot.
Tom and the marketing team asked me, do you think this will be acceptable to the Japan management? And I scratched my head and thought about this and decided not to tell the Japan management until only a few days before we air. And in case they said, you can't air this, stop it, I was thinking to tell them that I tried to stop it, but I couldn't stop it in time.
It was, I think, pretty innovative on our part to throw pretty much all of our media dollars against that one night worth of TV.
Sonic the Hedgehog. More action, more speed. Sega Genesis, it's a whole lot more for less.
Sonic the Hedgehog was released in June 1991, and the reaction was remarkable. People had never seen a game like it before. So why did Sonic's creation resonate with the public in the way that it did?
Sonic was appealing for a number of different reasons. First of all, he just has a beautiful simplicity to him. Clean lines, just a gorgeous set of colors, the blue and the red tennis shoes. But secondly, he really communicated the power of the game just by looking at him. When you see those red tennis shoes, you just assume he can run fast, and he did. And his spin attack made it appear as though nothing could defeat Sonic the Hedgehog. And then the attitude at the end was just kind of the perfect topping.
僕が初めてソニックを触ったのはジェネシス、メガドライブの時ですけれども、ソニック・ザ・ヘッジホッグというオリジナルタイトルです。で、その時はそのゲームのスピード感と、あとはやはり音楽が持つキャッチーさ、そこに惹かれました。
I was really taken by the speed and the feel of the game. And Sonic the Hedgehog just felt terrific. It was easy to play, it felt good to play, and the speed was just remarkable. I'd never seen a character move that quickly across the screen, and it was like magic back in those days. He had an edge to him. He wasn't your laid-back, soft, nice guy. He had a little bit of edginess to him and a little bit of smart-assness to him, if you will. And I think that made him very appealing to kids and teens.
本当にまず第一印象かっこいいと思ったんですね。青いあんな小さな頭身のキャラクターですけども、あれが動いてる姿を見てもう本当にかっこいい。でこれが本当に家庭用ゲーム機なのかって驚いたぐらいすごい強い印象を受けました。
Sega felt that Sonic was going to be a hit. Tom Kalinske felt Sonic's surefire appeal presented Sega with an innovative opportunity.
The thing we had to do first and foremost was sell a lot of hardware, because otherwise, how are you going to sell a lot of software? If you don't get a lot of hardware out into the homes, you really had no chance of creating a marketplace with follow-on software.
Tom and I went to Japan and sat down in a big Sega Japan boardroom with oval table with perhaps 30 board members and other executives and explained our strategy. That is, we lower our price from $189 to $149 when Nintendo was offering the Super Nintendo at $199. And on top of that, we wanted to bundle our software, Sonic 1, and create the bundle pack for that $149 price point. And as Tom started to explain, I saw Nakayama-san's face sort of turning white and getting angry, and he stood up and said, we make money from software because we don't make money really from hardware. So why we give away the best software away? and he kicked the chair and literally ran to the door.
Then I thought, well, that's the end of my career. And he turned at the door and he said, well, I hired you to build the company and take market share from Nintendo, and if this is what you think you have to do, go ahead and do it. So he supported our plan 100%, and to his credit, I think, to his great credit, because he could have easily said no. And because of his allowing us to do that, we then went on to really dramatically take share of market away from Nintendo in the next year.
The concept of bundling in our industry, i.e. of putting in software with the hardware to drive accelerated sales rates or to forestall a price drop, is a time-honored tradition, if you will. What Tom Kalinske did in 1991 here with the Genesis, by putting Sonic in there, a AAA piece of software, kind of broke the mold, if you will, from what had previously happened where the less desirable software had been packaged in because it was cheaper and more effective to be able to push that through rather than give away what was seen to be high profit margin software.
People were buying Sega consoles simply to play Sonic, and with Sonic proving to be a huge success, it was inevitable that a sequel should follow.
When we completed Sonic 1, which was originally developed in Japan, we realized that the real battlefield against Nintendo is the United States. Therefore, we brought the team to Palo Alto, California, and added some American resources and started to create Sonic game. And that really made much better, closer collaboration between the Sonic team and the US marketing team.
After Sonic 1, we wanted Sonic to continue to grow. We managed his career, much like you would manage the career of a famous actor. And so what was important is that, first of all, we grew Sonic's world, and we introduced a new character by the name of Tails, so Sonic had a friend. And then we also continued to flesh out his Bibles and flesh out his backstory. We were much more involved in Sonic 2, but that said, the Sonic team really did drive the design of Sonic 2 as well. Al Nelson and I were a part of making sure that the new characters that were designed fit within the entire world. But the game was definitely driven, conceived of, and developed by the Sonic team. And they did a beautiful job as well.
With Sonic 2 ready for release, Sega devised an incredibly clever piece of marketing, turning Sonic into a worldwide media sensation, and yet again improving sales of the Genesis, thanks to the aptly named Sonic Tuesday.
Sonic Tuesday was an industry first, and we're proud of it. It was one of the first worldwide launches, if not the first worldwide launch.
There was a whole lot of logistics involved in making sure that we had all the millions of Sonics delivered to every single retail outlet and making them hold it until Sonic Tuesday. And I remember talking with the president of some of the air freight companies we were using, and they were pulling their hair out and helping us manage this process of air shipping to every retail store and truck shipping to every retail store in America to make sure the product all arrived the same moment so that it could be at retail that next morning.
Never before for a home video game had we witnessed the worldwide scenes of people lining up outside shops in the driving rain to take advantage of midnight openings, which back then was a true first for the video game industry. Sonic Tuesday was responsible for a major step up for the video game industry, a new PR and marketing benchmark that other publishers had to follow. Sonic 1 and 2 had been incredible hits and were just being played and played by the ever-growing fan base. Everyone just seemed to love Sonic, and while Sonic's popularity continued to rise, Sega continued to produce and release further games to add to the franchise. Sonic fans were appearing everywhere, and with it a competitive streak, as fans were eager to prove who was the very best amongst their friends.
Everything we did was with this one goal in mind, to make Sonic a very, very strong brand, a preeminent brand in the video game industry, and also for kids' products in general. I believe that it was the first time anybody dared put their lead product in with the hardware. It was the first time there was TV shows developed around a character. I think it was the first time there were Happy Meal promotions where we sold 50 million Happy Meals with Sonic characters in it. I think it was the first time a character was in the Macy's Day Parade. from a video game. So I think there were a lot of firsts that we did. And certainly it was the first time anybody made fun of their main competitor in television advertising and kind of ridiculed their main competitor in television advertising.
Then in 1998, Sonic's move into 3D was a big success thanks to Sonic Adventure on the Sega Dreamcast.
そうですね、この20年間の歴史の中で、一つの大きなターニングポイントっていうのが1998年のソニックアドベンチャーだったと思います。それまでメガドライブの、ドット絵のソニックが、3D になって、で単にそれが 3D になるだけではなくて、キャラクターとして初めて声を喋って、キャラクターが一体どんな気持ちでどういう目的で敵と戦うのかという、そういうドラマ的な部分が初めてゲームの中に、加わったのがソニックアドベンチャーでして、喋らなかったメガドライブの、ソニックが初めて、キャラクターとして皆さんに初めて、そのキャラクター性を伝えられた。
This no longer really was purely Sonic on a tight rail going up and down across mountains and terrains. There was this magnificent world now that surrounded, because of the power of the hardware, that surrounded Sonic and his friends.
やっぱり当時の16ビット機から、ドリームキャストの方の新しいハードで、展開する新しいゲームということで、やっぱそのハードの性能が上がることで、表現できること自体もやっぱりすごく大きく飛躍するので、それを見た目デザインの方でどう表現していくかっていうところで、そのキャラクターの見た目の変化によるインパクトっていうのと、そうですね、実際のその表現力がアップした部分で各キャラクターのアクション性をいかに大きくカメラが引いたり寄ったりした時でも見せることができるかっていうところが、スムーズに行えるように調整しながら制作しました。
With Sonic's move into 3D a success, more titles followed. The development team always challenged with the need to raise the benchmark of each game, right the way through to recent titles such as Sonic Colors.
ソニックカラーズで初のディレクターという、大役をいただいて、どうやって、お客様に喜んでいただけるような、ソニックの新しいゲームを作っていこうかというふうに考えたんですけれども、そうはいえうちのソニックチームはもうソニックを作る優秀なスタッフが揃っているので、私よりもソニックに対しては、もうベテラン揃いとのチームであるというところで、ソニックを作ること自体はもう基本的に、スタッフのみんなに任せようというふうに私は考えました。そして私自身は、それを、よりハイスピードアクションの特にアクション部分、プラットフォームアクション部分にフォーカスしていくように、全体を誘導していくような立ち回りをしようというふうに意識して、作っていこうというふうに、考えてました。
The music of Sonic still commands a steadily growing fan base that has been growing some truly wonderful music with contributing musicians that each brought their own style to the Sonic franchise.
ソニックの長い歴史の中でいろんな楽曲がありました。でその中で好きな曲とか自信のある曲を1曲あげろって言われてもなかなかこれは難しい話で、そうですね、トータルで言ったらもう100曲以上は多分作ってはいると思うんですけれども、その中で好きなもの強いてあげれるならばソニックアドベンチャー2のテーマ曲のリブ&ラーンと、あとはそのタイトルの中のステージ曲の一つだったエスケープフロムザシティという曲ですね。で他の方、例えば オリジナルのソニックの楽曲を担当されていた中村さんの曲で言えば、僕はソニック2のエメラルドヒルというステージの曲が好きです。
Of course, you know, the project of Sonic 2 is based on the Sonic 1's experience, of course. But, you know, technically, it was improved, you know, including sound itself. Audience expected more, you know what I mean? Because, you know, Sonic 1, it's got, huge success. So I don't want to make, you know, people disappointed.You know, Sonic 2. So it was huge pressure for me.
ソニックシリーズの中でこれまで自分が担当した曲で、思い入れがあるというか、一番力を入れて作ってきたのが、各タイトルごとのテーマ曲だったりします。でやっぱりどの作品でも一番そのテーマとなるものが一番その作品の核となるものを表しているので、
ソニックのタイトルの、楽曲を制作して今まで一番、楽しかったなと思う、思い出はですね、ソニックアドベンチャーの楽曲制作になります。あそこで、録音の楽しさっていうのを知りましたし、世界中のプレイヤーのこのなんて言うんでしょう、クオリティの高さというのをもうまざまざと、肌に感じた初めてのタイトルでしたので、今ある、僕のこう制作スタイルっていうのもあのタイトルでなんか確立されたんじゃないかなと思っています。それぐらい僕の中では大きいタイトルになっています。
To help celebrate his 20th birthday, Sonic is set to return in the game Sonic Generations, a game that embraces key eras in Sonic's remarkable 20-year history.
ソニックジェネレーションズの特徴になりますけども、2D の、クラシックのステージが今回は、今の、PS3 や360といった次世代機のハードを使って、3D となって、しかも、すごく密度の濃い世界観となって新たにそのステージを再現するというところが一つのこのゲームのコンセプトとしてありまして、クラシックのステージはより密度の高い 3D のステージに、逆に今度元が 3D だったステージ、ソニックアドベンチャー2のシティエスケープですとか、そういう元が 3D だったステージを今度はクラシックで遊ぶと2D のプラットフォームアクションとして遊べるというその、最近の 2D のアクションと 3D のアクションの両方楽しめるというところが、ソニックジェネレーションの一つの特徴ですね。
このゲーム始めるときに私がチームに言ったことが20周年だからってさあ20周年集めましたよっていうようなタイトルにするのではなくて、20周年だからこそ5年後の記憶に残るそういったゲームを作ろうと。なので新しいチャレンジっていうのは今までのゲーム組み立てもちろんあるんですけども、そこに新しいギミックであったりとか今までなかった演出を追加して、で、今まで買ってもらったお客さんはもちろんで、今までソニックをプレイしてなかったお客さんもやっぱソニックって面白いんだって納得してもらえて、それで新しいその5年後につながるようなそういうゲームを作りたいなと思っています。そういうような、今までの20周年の集まりっていうわけではなくて、それを超えた新しいチャレンジっていうのをこのゲームには詰め込んでいます。
It's incredible to think now that we're in our 20th year of enjoying Sonic the Hedgehog games. There are very few characters or pieces of intellectual property, quite frankly, that can survive 5 or 6 years after sequels, never mind 2 decades. And I think it's a test to the timelessness, to the brilliance of the gameplay, to the richness of the world that is Sonic the Hedgehog and all of his friends, and the fact that he has seamlessly transitioned from platform to platform to platform and never lost that edge, never lost the uniqueness of the gameplay, never lost that cheeky, irreverent feeling that we all get when we play Sonic. And I think it's very rare that you can look in our industry today for a character that's withstood the test of time, as has Sonic the Hedgehog.
Thank you.